One of the hardest parts of streaming isn't going live. It's growing when it feels like nobody can even find you. Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome back to Creator Conversations, the series where I sit down and talk honestly about streaming, content creation, growth, and everything else that comes with trying to build online. In the first episode, I talked about how streaming isn't easy, and I thought a good follow up to this would be something that pretty much every small creator deals with at some point: why small streamers struggle to grow. Because I think when people look at streaming from the outside, it can be really easy to assume that if someone's entertaining, they stay consistent, and they're putting loads of effort in, that growth just happens naturally. But the reality is, it usually doesn't work like that. And I think that can be one of the hardest things to deal with when you're trying to build a channel, because when you're a small streamer, it's not just about whether you're good enough. A lot of the time, it's whether people can even find you in the first place. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with streaming, is that discovery is hard. When you upload a normal video, people can find it later, it can get recommended, it can show up in search results, people can click on it days or weeks after you've posted it. But with live streaming, if someone isn't there while you're live, there's a good chance they'll just miss it completely. And that makes growth a lot harder because live content doesn't really work in the same way as normal content. You're asking people to be there at a specific time for a specific length of time and choose your stream over everything else that they could possibly be watching. And that's just not easy, especially when you're a small streamer sitting in a category where loads of other people who have already got bigger audiences, stronger communities, more experience, better setups, and just have more momentum behind them. And I think it's something that people don't talk about enough. Sometimes slow growth isn't because you're doing a terrible job. Sometimes it's just because streaming is genuinely hard to be discovered through. I think that can mess with your head a bit when you're putting loads of effort in, because you can do a really good stream, you can show up consistently, you can improve your setup, make clips, and work on better titles, be more engaging, and still feel like nothing much is changing. That can be frustrating because effort doesn't always create instant results. I think one of the hardest parts of being a small streamer is that you're often doing loads of work behind the scenes, but from the outside it can look like nothing much is happening because people only really look at the numbers. They'll see how many viewers there are, how many followers you've got, and how many people are chatting, but they won't always see the planning, the setup, the social media posts, the editing, the ideas, the technical issues, the trial and error, and all the other stuff that you're doing just to keep things moving. And when growth slows, it's really easy to start questioning everything. Am I playing the wrong game? Am I streaming at the wrong times? Am I not entertaining enough? Am I posting enough? Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? I think most small creators probably go through all of those at some point. Because when results are slow, doubts do get louder. And that's where streaming can often become difficult mentally as well, not just practically, because it's not just about going live and having fun. It then becomes this weird mix of enjoying what you're doing while consistently wondering whether it's working. And I think that's why so many people quit early. Not because they don't enjoy streaming, but because slow growth can feel like the effort just isn't worth it. And I do understand that, because when you're putting time into something around work and life and family, battling your energy and everything else that goes with it, you want it to feel like it's going somewhere. You want signs that it's building. You want it to feel like the time you're putting in, it actually matters. I think one of the biggest mindset shifts for small streamers is understanding that growth is usually slower than people expect, like a lot slower. And not only that, but growth is rarely neat or consistent. It's not usually this smooth line where every week things get a little bit better. A lot of the time it's quite messy. Sometimes you'll have a really good stream and think, right, maybe this is starting to click now. And then the next few streams feel quiet again. Sometimes a clip can do really well and give you loads of hope, and then the next 10 will just do nothing. Sometimes you feel like you're making progress and then suddenly feel like you've stalled again. And that inconsistency can be difficult because it plays with your motivation. It makes it harder to stay level-headed. One good day can make you feel like everything's about to take off, and then one bad day can make it feel like none of it's working. And the truth is, I think we're all somewhere in the middle. I also think another reason small streamers struggle to grow is because a lot of people try to do too much too early. I say that because I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of you feel like you need to be live more. You need to post more clips. You need to be active on more platforms. You need to improve your overlays. You need to have better thumbnails. You need to buy a better mic and a better camera, and you need better branding. You need a Discord. You need short form content, YouTube videos, and you just need to do everything. And while some of that can definitely help, trying to do it all at once can actually make things harder, because instead of building momentum, you just end up overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, consistency becomes even harder. So now you're not just struggling with growth, you're struggling with burnout and pressure and constantly feeling like you're behind. I think that's really common for small creators, not because they don't care enough, but sometimes they care a little bit too much. They're trying so hard to make it work that they end up stretching themselves too thin. And I think that's why it's important to be realistic, because growth matters, obviously. Everyone wants to grow. But if your whole relationship with streaming is based on numbers, it becomes really hard to enjoy because numbers move slowly. They don't always reflect the full picture. You might not be growing as fast as you want, but you're still improving massively. You might be getting better at speaking, better at keeping your energy up, better at planning streams, better at building a community. You might be making better contents from your streams. You might just be understanding what works for you. And that stuff really matters as well. I think small creators forget to give themselves credit for that. They forget to give themselves a pat on the back because they're so focused on that next milestone, the next follower goal, the next average, the next breakthrough moment. And while goals are good, I think it's important to remember that real progress doesn't always show up instantly in the numbers. Sometimes progress is just sticking with it. Progress can be showing up again when last stream felt quiet. Sometimes progress is learning from the stream that just didn't go very well. Progress can be realizing that what actually fits in your life instead of chasing a content schedule that looks good on paper but just isn't sustainable. And honestly, I think that's one of the most important things is sustainability. Because for small streamers, your goal shouldn't be to grow fast. It should be to build something that you can actually keep doing. Because if your content only works when you're constantly exhausted, stressed, or trying to be everywhere at the same time, eventually something has to give. And that's why small streamers struggle to grow sometimes, not because they're not good enough and not because they don't want it badly enough, but because streaming is hard to get discovered through. Growth takes time, life gets in the way, and the pressure to do everything can make the whole thing feel heavier than it needs to be. I think the more honest people are with that, the better it will be. Because slow growth doesn't always mean you're failing. Sometimes it just means you're in the normal part that nobody really talks about. The slow bit, the building bit, the bit where you're learning, improving, experimenting, and trying to stay consistent before the results catch up. That's the part that matters. That's where a lot of the real work happens. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this episode. If you're a small streamer yourself, or even someone that's just interested in content creation, I think it's worth remembering that growth is rarely as simple as people make it sound. If it feels slow, that doesn't automatically mean you're doing everything wrong. Sometimes it just means this stuff takes longer than people expect. Before I finish the video, I just want to quickly mention that we're currently raising money for the Great Ormond Street Hospital. If you'd like to support that, the donation link is in the description. 90% of the donations through that link will go directly to the charity. If you donate through the Twitch fundraiser that I've got running, then 100% of that will go directly to them. So if you want to support that amazing cause, that would mean so much. That's the whole reason this channel exists. And if you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, make sure to go follow me across all my social medias, follow me on Twitch for the live streams, and join my Discord as well, because that way you can keep up with the communities, stream updates, and any of my future content. All the links are down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, let me know what topic you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.